It is where ideas are turned into actual physical products. Let us begin by looking at how operations form the very foundation of the supply chain. Operations management is the set of activities that creates value by transforming inputs into outputs. Inputs are the raw materials, labor, and energy. Outputs are the finished goods and services that customers want. Raw materials, labor, energy, finished goods, services. If a company makes cars, its operations involve welding metal, installing engines, and painting the body. If a company offers a service like a haircut, its operations are the actions of cutting, styling, and washing the hair. Operations are the essential, value-adding activities that a company performs. Now think about the supply chain. The supply chain is the entire network that brings a product to you. It starts with the companies that supply raw materials. It includes the factory that makes the product. It also includes the warehouses that store it and the trucks that deliver it. Each of these links in the chain is its own operation. The factory, however, is often the most important operational hub. It is the central point where materials from many suppliers come together to be transformed. The supply chain cannot exist without these individual operations. They are the building blocks. You cannot have a chain without links, and you cannot have a supply chain without operations. The management of the supply chain is about coordinating all of these separate operations. It is about making sure they all work together smoothly and efficiently. If the factory's operation is slow, the entire supply chain is delayed. If a supplier's operation fails, the factory cannot make anything. Therefore, the strength and efficiency of each operation directly determine the strength and efficiency of the entire supply chain. For this reason, supply chain management and operations management are deeply intertwined. You cannot manage one without understanding the other. A supply chain manager needs to know the capabilities and limitations of the production operations. For example, they need to know how quickly the factory can produce an order. They need to know what kind of quality to expect. This information is critical for making promises to customers and for planning inventory and transportation. In essence, operations are the heartbeat that pumps products and value through the veins of the supply chain. When a company decides to make a product, it must first design the production process. This is one of the most important decisions in operations management. How will we make this item? What machines will we use? How will the workers be organized? These choices about the production process have a huge impact on the entire business. They determine the cost of the product, the quality, and how quickly it can be made. Most importantly, these internal decisions shape the design of the external supply chain. The factory's design dictates the kind of supply chain the company needs. A key decision in process design is the trade-off between volume and variety. Volume refers to how many units of a product you make. High volume means making thousands or millions of identical items. Variety refers to how many different types of products you make. High variety means offering many choices, options, or customizations to the customer. A company usually cannot be good at both high volume and high variety at the same time. It must choose a focus. This choice creates a fundamental difference in how the production operation is set up. If a company chooses to focus on high volume and low variety, it will design a very different factory. It will use specialized equipment that is very good at doing one task over and over again. The production line will be arranged in a straight line, like an assembly line. This setup is extremely efficient for making large quantities of a standard product. On the other hand, if a company chooses low volume and high variety, its factory will look completely different. It will use general-purpose equipment that can be easily changed to make different things. The layout will be more flexible, allowing products to move to different stations depending on the customization needed. These internal factory designs directly influence the supply chain. A high-volume operation needs a supply chain that can deliver massive quantities of a few standard raw materials reliably and cheaply. A high-variety operation needs a much more flexible supply chain. It needs suppliers who can provide a wide range of different components, often in small quantities, and on short notice. The production process truly is the blueprint for the supply chain. IKEA is a brilliant example of a company that has mastered the mass production model. The company sells stylish furniture at very low prices. So, how does it achieve this? IKEA designs its products not just for style, but for efficient manufacturing and transportation. Most products, like the famous Billy bookcase, are standardized. They are produced in extremely high volumes in specialized factories. This allows IKEA to use automated processes and achieve massive economies of scale that drive down unit cost. This production strategy directly shapes IKEA's supply chain. The company sources raw materials like wood and particle board in enormous quantities from a global network of suppliers. By placing huge long-term orders, IKEA can negotiate incredibly low prices. The most famous part of its strategy is the flat pack design. By selling furniture unassembled, IKEA can fit many more products into a single shipping container. The entire supply chain, from sourcing to store, is built around the operational decision to mass-produce standardized flat-pack goods. Nike, the global sportswear giant, also leverages a mass production model for its core products. Think of classic sneaker models like Air Force One and the Cortez. These shoes are produced in massive quantities with very little variation. Nike does not own most of its factories. Instead, it outsources production to large contract manufacturers in countries with lower labor costs such as Vietnam and Indonesia. This allows Nike to focus on its core strengths: design, marketing, and brand management. Nike orders huge batches of sneakers from its contract factories months in advance. These products are then shipped via ocean freight to large distribution centers around the world. Dell revolutionized the personal computer industry with its unique operational model. In the 1990s, competitors like HP and Compaq used mass production models. They built large batches of standard PCs and pushed them to retailers. Dell did the opposite. It created a build-to-order system. Customers went to Dell's website and chose exact components: the processor, the amount of RAM, the size of the hard drive. Dell only started assembling after the order was placed. This required a different supply chain, incredibly fast and responsive. The supply chain was built for speed and flexibility, enabling customization competitors couldn't match. Zara, the fast fashion retailer, is another responsiveness champion. The fashion world changes very quickly. Traditional companies design months ahead and produce large batches in Asia. Zara's model is different. It designs, produces, and delivers new styles in weeks. It makes its most fashionable items in small batches at factories in Spain and Portugal. Store managers constantly send sales feedback to headquarters. Designers use that feedback to create new styles almost instantly. Production close to Europe lets Zara move from design to shelf in as little as 2 weeks. The responsive chain avoids markdowns and keeps the latest trends in stock. The whole business is built on operational speed and flexibility. As we have seen from the examples, there are 2 main types of supply chains. The first is the efficient supply chain. Primary purpose: supply predictable demand at the lowest possible cost. Perfect partner for mass production. High utilization rates at the factory, minimizing inventory, using economies of scale and transportation. Every decision squeezes costs out of the system. Examples: IKEA and Nike's classic products. They make standard functional products where price is a major factor for customers. The second is the responsive supply chain. Primary purpose: respond quickly to unpredictable demand, avoid stockouts of popular items, avoid having to discount unpopular ones. Ideal partner for flexible, high-variety operations, prioritizes speed and flexibility over cost, often uses faster, more expensive transport, air freight, holds inventory of components rather than finished goods. Examples: Dell and Zara. Innovative products where choice, customization, or trendiness matter more than the absolute lowest price. No single supply chain is inherently better than the other. The best choice depends entirely on the company's business strategy and the nature of its products. A mismatch can be disastrous. Imagine if Zara tried to use an efficient, slow supply chain. By the time its trendy clothes arrived from a factory in Asia 6 months later, the fashion would be completely out of date. On the other hand, if a company selling a basic commodity like salt tried to use an expensive, responsive supply chain, its costs would be too high. Therefore, the most successful companies are those that align their supply chain type with their operational capabilities and competitive strategy. Some large companies like Nike even use both. They use an efficient supply chain for their high-volume classic sneakers, but for their customizable Nike ID shoes, they use a responsive, build-to-order system similar to Dell's. The ability to design and manage the right kind of supply chain for the right kind of product is a hallmark of excellent operations and supply chain management. Throughout our journey, we have seen that operations management is not just one part of the business. It is the very foundation upon which a successful supply chain is built. The decisions made on the factory floor, how to make a product, how to balance volume and variety, how to organize workers and machines, create a ripple effect that touches every link in the chain. The key lesson is that there must be a perfect alignment. A company's competitive advantage comes from creating a seamless system where operations and the supply chain work together in harmony. In today's competitive global market, this alignment is more important than ever. Customers expect low prices, high quality, and fast delivery. The only way to meet these demands is through superior operations and supply chain management. By understanding how the making part of the business drives the delivering part, companies can build powerful, resilient systems that create value for customers and deliver lasting success. The unseen engine of operations is truly what powers the world's most successful companies and brings the products we love into our lives.